Right. Um, so we've got 103 participants as we speak now. We will begin. First of all, we're trying to get our principal on board at the moment, and I'm not sure if I can see him online. If you are there, Mr. Pant, just please shout out or wave out to us. Um, it's a very interesting day today. It is interesting that we are a hotel management college, and of course, with a lot of pride, we have produced some stellar hoteliers who are now leading some of the best hotel companies, not only in India but abroad. And we started our roundtable sessions with a session of successful people who are working abroad. But what has always intrigued a lot of hoteliers, and as we progress through the generations, we see that more and more pass out from IHM PUSA have got the what is called as the entrepreneurial bug. And when we started talking about the roundtable for PUSA Talk, our intention was first to do this session about people wanting to be an entrepreneur, because we had a lot of people um, who wanted to become entrepreneurs, and especially in this kind of a environment where people have gone through what I would call unprecedented hardship. It's quite evident that there is a silver lining and a huge opportunity for people to progress to entrepreneurship at an early stage of their career, rather than wait for a little while they have worked in various organizations and then progress in that journey. So I'm sure you've not come here to hear me. You've come here to hear the panelists. And I, before we start, I just want to invite Mr. Pant to say a few words, and then we could progress. So, Mr. Pant, I've got a message. He's online. So, if you can unmute yourself, Mr. Pant, and say a few words, I will be really grateful. Mr. Pant, you are now.
Yes, uh, thank you, Mr. Arindam. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank PIHMAA. This is one of the most wonderful days. All the events organized by PIHMAA so far has been par excellence. The kind of impact that it is making on the current students of your institution is immense. And today, more importantly, because one aspiration that we have in IHM PUSA is to create a number of entrepreneurs rather than job seekers. We wish that our current students become job producers and try to make a change in the economy of the country. And in that direction, I have been looking forward to today's session, and I wish it all the best. I'm seeing some old friends, Sanjay Chadha and Mr. Ahuja. I have had the pleasure of working with you and interacting with you on number of occasions. And there are new. I would love to meet with each one of you in the time to come, and then see how we can make IHM PUSA achieve greater heights and become a strength to reckon with. Right. So all the best, and let me not waste any more time, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pant, and deeply appreciate your personal commitment to PIHMAA and to events like this. While I know that it benefits the students and the faculty and the alumni at large, but PIHMAA would not have been on its journey to whatever it's doing without the active support of you as the principal and the faculty and the current students. So thank you to all of you. Ajay is the moderator today, and it is my responsibility to introduce Ajay, and then he will introduce the others. But I was a little scared of introducing Ajay, because I don't know anybody who doesn't know Ajay, except for the fact.
Thank you,
Except for the fact that he's been a stalwart in the industry, passed out of 86, currently the CEO and founder of Fifth Element Hospitality, He's worked across brands outside the hotel industry, like Reliance, Apollo Hospital, and within the hotel and hospitality, like ITDC and Nirula's. He's worked outside the country, like in Bangkok, and of course he's known to be a sort of a stellar brain as far as restaurant and restauranting is concerned. And he obviously was in a very critical role for launching more than 100 restaurants in the last few years. So thank you, Ajay, for taking this lead
Thank you
role
so
and
much.
well with the rest of the team. And over to you and to rest of the panelists.
Thank you so much, Arindam, for the kind words. Life has been kind, life has been interesting, and that is why I kept changing, because I want to keep my interest alive and remain young. Okay, so we are here for a wonderful session, and I want this to be very useful for everybody over here. And we have a really great speaker panel. The title is very simple. What does it take to succeed in the tough world of business? Lessons from successful entrepreneurs. So everyone you see on the screen over here is a successful entrepreneur. The pain is different. We will hear about it. But everyone over here has achieved something very important. And they are all job creators. They are not job seekers. that is what Mr. Arindam also mentioned. That is what Mr. Kamal Khan mentioned. That is what we are looking for today. So let me start quickly by introducing in order of seniority. I think that matters. Absolutely. First of all, I introduced Mr. Vineet Dargar. He passed out of IHM PUSA in 1981. He is the managing director of Gemex Exports Private Limited, which is into very fine quality, handcrafted stainless steel, cutlery, and other products. And I will leave the rest to Vineet when I come back to him. I want everybody to be able to talk much better about themselves. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Sanjay Chadha. Sanjay passed out in 1985. We have been very close friends, very upfront. I think a lot of people know that. We are family friends. We are friends. I forget a lot of times that he's 1 year senior to me. It doesn't seem like that. We've always been together in everything that we do. Sanjay is the managing director of Palms Hospitality Services. Palms Hospitality does something which is very interesting in India today. They actually manage restaurants inside hotels. It's a trend which is new to India still in a professional manner. And Sanjay has embarked on this journey after doing a lot of other things which he will talk to you about. And I mean, it's something very interesting again. Next, I come to Rajesh Ahuja, again a good friend of so many years. He passed out of IHM PUSA in 1990. Rajesh runs, I think every hotelier or restaurateur worth his salt knows a company called Chefline, which is equipment. What a lot of people may not know, he also runs another company very successfully called Amarex, which deals with fire suppression systems. So we'll come back to them. And Rajesh, I think possibly I was talking to all of them, he has about 30 years. He's about to complete 30 years in his entrepreneurial venture, which is huge. He started off, I think, immediately after college. Next is Rajat Verma. Rajat, wave your hand so the guys know who's who. Your names are also coming in. Rajat passed out in 91 from IHM PUSA, where he also met his life partner Sanjana, also from the same batch. Fantastic. So Rajat has experience in hotels, restaurants, catering, cargo aviation, films, construction and restoration, and direct selling. Wow. That's all I can say. So Rajat also runs India's largest direct selling company as on date. It's called Safe Shop. He also runs 3 hotels, one in Goa, one in Delhi, and one in Porto in Portugal. So everybody please reach out to him. You know your holiday destination Goa and in Europe is covered. And then I come to Manu Mohindra. Manu is from the batch of 1994. Manu worked for several years as an executive chef. Manu runs a very, very famous consulting organization. I am sure everyone on the attendees list would have heard of it. It's called Under One Roof. I found the name very intriguing when I first heard about it. Manu's better half is also an IHM PUSA alumni. And like he mentioned to me, because they were together in this, so it was 1 + 1, 2, no, it was 1 + 1, 11, which is why they have grown. They have international offices and so on and so forth. And any number of restaurants created, designed, the works. So that is the panel today. And let me come back to Vineet. Vineet, please tell us something more about what you do. And along with that, when did you start off your entrepreneurial journey and what prompted you to do that?
My entrepreneur's journey began the day I joined PUSA. I always wanted to be a chef and do something because cooking was my passion. And I wanted to do things that people would remember me by. But when I joined the industry, there was a serious lack of availability of appropriate equipment for food service. So there was always a nagging thought behind my mind that how do I get this equipment? Because the management isn't going to give it to me because it's very expensive. The day I got the chance to move out of being a chef, which I didn't enjoy too much because I love cooking, I moved into manufacturing cutlery, tablewares, and items for food service for hotels, homes, and event companies. A very small example was the cheese knives. I designed and created cheese knives for mass service so that it caters to every separate taste. And I had an idea that Indian clientele is going to grow. It is the most solid, most tasteful, demanding clientele. And I love doing things for this demanding clientele.
So essentially you saw a niche which was a pain area for you in the working environment, and you very boldly decided to walk into that. That's a wonderful thought. I mean, utilizing your own pain area and making a great product now for everybody. So can I move on to Sanjay? Sorry, please tell me. Okay, we'll come back.
Okay, fine, great.
Sanjay, you passed out of college in '85, and I think you started I know you started your entrepreneurial journey later. So just tell us what are you doing now and the beginning of the journey.
I after college I joined ITDC as management trainee and then worked for a few years with ITDC. So I attempted entrepreneurship initially in 1991 when I was just 5 years of experience and I failed. For 1 year I took plunge in club catering and I failed. Then I joined back the industry. I started working again. And in 1999, I took my final plunge to entrepreneurship. So maybe Mr. Bachchan has taken the lead from me that setback ka jawab comeback se diya. So I had a setback in 1991. Well said. Yeah, and then 1999 I started again. Why did I start? I would give credit to my organization ITDC for that reason, because I knew that time I wanted to grow faster. I wanted to do something and achieve things which probably I couldn't have done it while working. And so that was the passion. So I was getting a little restless. That's the reason in 1991 I attempted. When I failed, I went back to the industry, and in 1999, with planning and everything, I attempted again. And thankfully, I didn't have to look back.
Fantastic. So next, let's talk to Rajesh Ahuja. Rajesh is in fact I think in terms of years of experience, the most experienced entrepreneur in terms of years. Rajesh passed out of college in 1990. What do you do, Rajesh, now? I briefly mentioned Chefline and Amarex. Just tell us a little more about them. And what made you suddenly decide after doing IHM, you just left the industry within a year? Over to you, sir.
First of all, thank you, Arindam and Mr. Pant, for the wonderful platform and bringing us all together on this, for sharing our experiences and life journey. Well, my life journey started from PUSA, as everybody said. That something happened on the way. I was not being able to get a placement during the final pass out of the, not the correct placement. So very, very, limited choice at that time. And somehow I got into an internship with a company for marketing of the products, where, I learned a little bit of the trade. And then I came back to Hyatt Kitchen Stewarding because I wanted to go back into the hotel operations and, start off the career again. But then I realized, that, yeah, so the very, very brief period worked with Hyatt and then realized that, hotel operations is not going to be my cup of tea. And I also realized that there was a big gap between, the equipment service providers and the hotels at that time. Being in the stewarding department, you were always being pushed by the chefs to one corner and by the F&B service on the one corner, maintenance of the equipment, breakdown. So I realized that there is a little gap there, and I immediately left hotel and started my own venture with a small, job for a chef fair centaur at the moment. And that's how the journey started, getting into a manufacturing company, providing solutions for the hotel kitchens. And yes, in fact, yesterday, 9th October was my foundation day when I started Chefline way back in 1990, 91. So completed almost 30 years. And, now, of course, bits of failures, bits of successful. Yes, but I've stuck to my dreams, my passion, which is the kitchens. And that's how it is. It's
Wonderful.
It's journey till now. Thanks. Yeah.
Awesome, sir. Awesome. Awesome is the word. Everybody I hear is
Also,
like.
It was an opportunity sought. Had I, like people wish that you get a good job at the college. You of your own selection, of your own city, of your own brand, which I was quite unfortunate. But I got that opportunity and got converted that opportunity into what I am today.
So look at adversity right in the eye. Don't let life blink at you, blink back saying, sorry, boss, I am in charge. You are not.
I would say you to spot key opportunities.
Every adversity comes with opportunity.
Absolutely. So Rajat Verma, batch of 1991. Rajat, the guy managing hotels. I'm reminding everyone again, your favorite destination called Goa and a beautiful destination in Portugal. Absolutely. And something else. Tell us, Rajat, you passed out in 91. You met your better half, Sanjana, who's also from your batch there. And then what do you do now? And when did you start off the entrepreneurial journey?
Hi, good afternoon and good morning to everybody. Thank you for having me on this panel. Sanjana and me met in college, and like I saw from Arindam's questions, so which was the most memorable incident in college? So I think I have that memorable incident when I wake up every morning because PUSA is responsible for my life partner. So yes,
great.
We both started in hotels, and after a couple of years, both of us dropped out of hotels, and she went on set up call centers, and I went on to starting my first chai ki dukaan, as I call it, in the at ITO under a tree with a folding table, and that's how I started my entrepreneurial journey. I was the original chai wala, so if somebody else claims to be a chai wala, it's a ripoff on my line. So that's how I started my career in the entrepreneurial journey, and then we moved on to various other things. Presently, Sanjana and me run hotels together, and she runs the hotels. I work as an advisor for her. We build projects in Portugal, which is construction and restoration, and we like to do that. And My core business, which allows me to do all this, is my direct selling company called Safe Shop. And we have a pan-India presence of over about 40 lakh agents. And we sell almost everything under the sun, which we manufacture in our own brand name from various manufacturing partners. So we have about 300 SKUs, and we sell them to every single nook and corner of the country through our direct selling methodology. So that's how life has been, and it's been an interesting journey. I'm just waiting for my next entrepreneurial venture to start, because I think the more you expand and the more things you do, you might fail in 100 of them, but the 101st one will always be a success. So
Great. That's wonderful. So I come to Manu, youngest by age in the panel, 94 pass out. And again, Manu, your better half is also from PUSA. Is she from?
Yeah, she's the batch of 96.
96. Okay. So you spent the year together, obviously. Yeah. Great. So Manu's worked as an executive chef. He was one of the youngest executive chefs with the ITC hotels, I think. And he's worked with the Taj Group as well. Sorry?
It was with ITC. I was with ITC Fortune.
Yeah, great. And then he founded his hospitality consultancy firm. They have designed, executed, launched, I think somewhere close to about 1,400 restaurants. They have multinational offices. Tell us, Manu. Tell us all. And what made you decide to give up the great life as an executive chef in a leading brand like ITC?
So, first of all, thank you so much for having me over. I'm already feeling like the baby of the group, and I think I'll get out learning more from all of you from this session.
Not at all.
So, Sonia and I both were with ITC, and Sonia started with the Park Hotel Group, and I started with Taj as chef training program. And then both of us switched to ITC, Sonia as a food and beverage manager, and I as an executive chef. And we were, that time Fortune Park had just started, and one of our PUSA seniors was the corporate chef at that time. Sunil Gaddy was with ITC, and so we started there. And then what happened was they posted us to 2 different locations to set up 2 different hotels. And we were newly married, and this under one roof was born, because we said it's not possible right now to live in 2 different cities. So one got posted to Ahmedabad, the other got posted to Trichy, because there were 2 hotels being set up. So we resigned, and in my Noida house, in my garage, the company was born. We said we will do restaurant consulting. We also said that नया नया PUSA से वो Philip Kotler याद है, तो उसमें marketing guru कहता था 3 चीजें करो. So I started a catering company. I started a small takeaway outlet called the Arabic Grill, and we said consulting तो हमें कोई देगा नहीं, we're very very young, but might as well, since we have nothing to lose. We started off, and rest is history. So it's been a journey of about 20 plus years. It is now sits out of 5 countries. Hopefully this corona happened, otherwise our Singapore office would have been operational by now. Otherwise we sit out of Munich, we sit out of Sydney, we sit out of Toronto, we sit out of Doha and Delhi, of course. And it's been 1,450 restaurants, 110 hotels, from everybody from Tatas to Marriott's to Hilton's to the Gutka guys to everybody we consult and design for. Our thing from day one was that we had to do everything. So whether it was design architecture, whether it was graphics, whether it was F&B training, and slowly we built it. So we are a small team of about 80 people now in the office. We do about 400 placements a month, which we don't charge for anywhere in the world. So they are all free placements. So that's our way of giving it back to the industry. Rest, I think
Fantastic.
It's a fantastic session. I will be learning a lot, so I'll try and hear more. Thank you so much.
So I'm going to take this opportunity to redefine. Manu told me that under one roof was named because all facilities are under one roof. But what I've understood today is that it is under one roof because Sonia and he wanted to be under one roof, not 2 different roofs, right? That's the definition I picked up today. Totally. So Rajesh, tell me, in this, you've had the longest journey. There must have been, at least at the initial stages, or maybe later as well, one moment where you would have said, my God, what have I done? Why have I done this? Let me get back to job. Why, sir?
Ajay, being an entrepreneur is not a cakewalk, and it's more
Of
like a,
course.
tightrope walking. You walk on the rope, where you have to be constantly learning, developing, experiencing new things. Yes, there were initial time. In fact, within my first 6 months of starting a manufacturing unit, coming from a technical team to do the manufacturing. But there were so many other aspects, like the moment, as I said, within 6 months of my entering into business, I get into a legislation with an excise department at that time. Things were very different at that time. There were no computers. There were no, journals being published over the internet. These days, things are much, much easier. So I did not pay a single penny to what they asked. I learned the rule. I read each and every book at that time. I'm talking about 92 February. I still remember. The case is listed in the tribunal and I won the case. I did not pay a single penny to them because I was able to prove that, what I was doing was correct. And it was correct. That's where, the whole mantra is, if you're honest in your dealings, if you're honest in your thought process, nothing can trouble you. So yes, there were incidences. There have been, of course, it goes on. The life goes on. There are failures in the business. As Sanjay Bhai also said that, there was a time when he had the dip, but then he bounced back. So if failure is guaranteed in any kind of entrepreneurship or a business, if you have accepted that fact, running the business or entrepreneurship becomes much more easier. The only thing is how fast you can learn from your failure or how fast you can adapt, and you don't repeat that experience, whatever the reason behind the failure may be. So there were incidences where you have had issues with that, with the regulations changing, especially now with the GST coming in. Every second day you find a new registration, new law coming in. 2 days before they have added a TCS law, where you need to deduct money when we are into capital equipment supplies. We are doing hotels like Marriott and bigger chains. So where the volumes are high. So every day if you don't keep updating yourself, you will tend to lose out. So, but yes, if you are onto it, you're riding the business. I don't think that there is that weak moment where you say, okay, no, oh my God, I've done the wrong thing. I've been very passionate about Chefline from day one, and I've been only into
Of
this,
course.
only into this till now. So that's my focus point. Yeah.
Great. That's wonderful. It is, and this is more for the benefit of all the people who logged in. Staying the course is very important. I once opened a restaurant in 1997. And within 6 months, I just got so tired of fixing the COPS and the MCD. Of course, there were shortcomings, no doubt. I was naive. I thought, chalo, chala lenge. But then I gave it up. And I went back to a safe corporate job. And then for the next 20 years, plus I was in a corporate job. So some of us do that. And then I finally decided, no, I've had enough of this shit and I'm back. So Sanjay, you tell us. You said you stopped once in 91. What got you back in 99?
The conviction of the fact that, yes, I have to be an entrepreneur was still intact. Why I failed, which I'm sure I would like to share with everyone, is that majority of the time when we start doing business, when you shift from job and you start doing business, you still work like a manager. You still run your business as a job. And that's why people fail, because as an entrepreneur, your role is far more bigger than being a manager. Like when we started doing business in 1991, I still remember we were not aware of the costing. We were still working like a manager. To save 5 rupees per kilo chicken, we would spend more money on petrol because the costing was not there. And we were, as you rightly said, we were naive. We didn't know that, okay, as an entrepreneur, we need to know the business planning, the costing, the economics of the business. We were still working like a restaurant manager of a hotel and doing the business. And that's where we failed. So when we learn from you learn from your mistake, but at the same time, the passion, the conviction that I have to be an entrepreneur was intact. And the first
Okay.
opportunity, I jumped again. And
You jump back.
I jumped back after 8 years.
And you haven't looked back after.
Thankfully. Thankfully,
So,
I am
Vineet
still,
sir, tell us.
Go ahead. No. Thankfully, I haven't. I mean,
Vineet sir, you passed out of college in 81 and you went into entrepreneurship in 96. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's a big gap. You know, interestingly, gap. Hopefully you were not naive like a lot of us. The people who jumped in immediately were naive. Simple. Or they were driven by whatever. Rajesh said, I didn't get this, I didn't get that, I did not get a dream job. Manu was not wanting to stay away from his, wife and life partner. So you took a calculated decision. What's your advice to let's say, people who have been working for at least 5 to 7 years today? And I'm talking about the people who are online right now and probably will listen to this.
I will give you a very brief history. I started working as a management trainee with Centaur Group, finished my training, worked with them till 88, got married and went to Australia. But I always had entrepreneurship at my heart. During that time, during my working in hotel as a chef, I did dabble into business with my family. But
okay.
I went overseas. I dabbled into business there as well alongside working. But as Sanjay said, you work as a manager, you're bound to fail. You need to let the entrepreneurship inside you be on top. And I agree with Rajesh that you have to be passionate about what you do. And adversities will come every day. You have to be there to face it, accept it, and find a way around it or through it. So they have given the golden words. I'm going to continue from there. In Australia, I started my entrepreneurship and failed miserably. Saw an opportunity to come back to India. And it was my daughter's upbringing and my wife's encouragement that made me take the bold step of shifting back from Australia to India after almost a decade and having settled down thoroughly. But after coming back, I went into business headlong. Had my ups and downs, very severe setbacks, but my target was to reach there, which was my product should be on every shelf in every home in the world.
Fantastic.
And I did my best to do that. And we've had our product on the tables of the 2 royal weddings. And the adversities will come your way every day. I've had my share to the point where it almost broke me and I decided to go back to being a chef in Australia. But then something pulled me back. That was the fire of being an entrepreneur. And with all adversities, I said, okay, I'll live with what I have. But my compassion to my capitalist ideas went ahead, and I know that I was facing literally our governing is fractured because central, state, and local government bodies may be having different ideas. You have to live with that, you have to adapt with that, and you have to become the catalyst in your business. Whatever you do, you must have the passion. Rajesh said the passion is what really brought them forward. And it is the passion that has to become your catalyst to go on and achieve. Because...
So, Vineet, tell me, I mean, in this tough time, and that's a fact of life, we are all living in the COVID era, it's not going to go away so soon. There would be youngsters 4 or 5 years in the job scenario, 3 years, who would have lost jobs, who maybe, I received a message yesterday from one of my team players. He's just launched his own milkshake brand in Lajpat Nagar. You'll all probably receive. I will promote it for him. It's a commitment. But he asked me about a month back, sir, I want to do this. I just sent him a simple reply saying, if I can help you in any way, but go ahead and do it. What's your advice to people who are either on the verge of losing jobs, who've been planning to do this? Should they do it? Should they go into entrepreneurship? Honest answer. Who will do it? Who will do it? Who will not do it? Not do it.
If you feel you have the guts to remain, if it's in your heart to be in entrepreneurship, don't give it up. Let the adversities come.
Okay.
Plan for it.
Okay.
Economize, because a lot of our companies and businesses tend to be top heavy. Shave off the fat from the top and be vigilant. Be ready to get your hands dirty, no matter what your business. I run a business where, I have polishing. At times to design an item, I go down there, I work with them. So you have to be in it, get your hands dirty, shave off the fat of the top. And this is a very adverse time. And it is adversity that brings out a bright future as soon as the adversity ends. It'll be another year before we get out of this situation. But my advice to all of them will be, don't give up, continue, economize to survive. You need to reach middle of the next year just to survive. If you can survive the middle of next year, believe me, you're strong enough to go on, and don't stop being an entrepreneur.
That is, I think, very, very valuable advice, boss. Thank you so much. Rajat, I'm going to come to you after this question because, I thought I was the maverick who has moved out of the hotel industry so many times. I've got into FMCG, I've gone into facility management, but your resume I cannot believe that you were an IHM pass out. But first I'm going to ask Manu a question. Manu, in this period, for our listeners' benefit, most importantly, people who are on board, what do you suggest? Do you think people should go into entrepreneurship in the food business?
So I've made a living out of making entrepreneurs. And I'll always say that during recession and during bad times lies a lot of opportunity. You should absolutely look at becoming entrepreneurs. That way you're not just creating jobs, you are also setting up yourself and it gives you a lot of confidence when you do your own thing. And a couple of things which we always advise our people is that first rule is that there are no rules. Second is that when you do a job, it's more like a farmer. But when you are an entrepreneur, you're a hunter. So if you don't kill, you don't eat. So,
I love the analogy.
So you always have to be at it. There's a lot of opportunity right now also. So for example, yes, the business is hit. We are the softest business. Wars, famines, economies, demonetization, everything hits us.
Totally.
I lost 2 businesses. But also lies the opportunity. For example, rentals are down by 40% right now. So that's a great opportunity.
Right.
All my projects. So for example, we were doing an analysis and we were getting a lot of data from Elante Mall, Chandigarh, for example, on the cafe courtyard of that. Almost all the cafes have been designed by my company. My clients are back to 70% of their sales with 30% lesser staffing now. So in a way, they are back to normal. There lies a lot of opportunity right now, both in terms of rentals, in terms of discounts. So for example, in terms of equipment, Rajesh is into equipment, and so a lot of my vendors called me that they have lying stock and they were willing to give very good discounts on them because they have already invested in that and it's lying in their godowns. So they wanted us to buy that. So there's a lot of opportunity right now. And of course, don't invest according to your own pockets. So make a good business plan and then invest. Don't over-invest. So a lot of people, for example, one of the reasons why we got into interior architecture was that we realized that our businesses were being burnt at the hands of architects who didn't understand F&B. See, whatever you might do,
very true.
You're going to sell food and beverage. We're not going to sell interiors. Nobody's going to buy that chair from me. Everybody's going to buy that burger or that sandwich or that roti from me. So make your business plan very carefully at times like this, like Sir said, like Vineet Sir also said, that shave off the heavier top line. Don't have very heavy people. Get your hands dirty. But there is a lot of opportunity right now.
Great. So that's valuable advice. That's encouragement. And I'm going to come back to you all about encouragement to all of you after once we go through more. Rajat, I come to you now. You passed out in 91. you've done crazy things. I'm being very upfront. You've done crazy things, film production and whatnot. So do you think even for, and I think one of my best definitions of an IHM, especially IHM PUSA, and I am biased openly, is that we produce great guys, we produce great people with great communication skills and understanding levels. Basic. चिकन काटना आता नहीं आता, ठीक है यार, वो चलेगा, मतलब नहीं आता कोई बात नहीं, सब फेल हो चुके होंगे कुकरी में, इट्स ओके. और F&B सर्विस नहीं आती. I have spilled soup over Mr. Bhattacharya in an exam, so it's okay, fine. But what do you think? What is your advice to people on going into alternate businesses, opening their eyes to that very importantly? See, at the end of the day, hospitality, like Manu mentioned very clearly, is a very soft. It's got a very soft underbelly. It gets hit by anything. किसी को कहीं झुका, मतलब वो खांसी आती है तो hospitality को hit आ जाती है. What do you say about other businesses?
So, like you rightly said, that PUSA prepares you for anything. And apart from communication,
Totally.
it allows you to get your hands dirty. And there is no hierarchy in terms of your mindset, that you start believing that even a housekeeping job or even a kitchen stewarding job or a utility worker job is as important as the general manager's job. And that's where you realize that there's huge parity in the style of working and each department, and they're as important as anybody else. So once you learn to get your hands dirty and you take out the ego from the aspect of your personality, that's when you realize that anything is possible. And you don't worry about niceties of having a fancy office or niceties of wearing a fancy suit. You just get down and get to actually doing your work. My advice to anybody who wants to take the entrepreneurial step is that don't try and sail in two boats. A lot of entrepreneurs who start off from the industry start off part-time, both in their mind, both in their spirit, and also in their business. They like to keep one door open or slightly ajar, that in case they fail, they'll rush back to that door. My advice is shut all doors, close all other opportunities, and jump with all the passion you have, and jump into it head first and completely deep end, and you will swim. There's nothing which can stop you from swimming as long as you're there in that water. If you keep coming back to the diving board and thinking that, okay, I'll take the full plunge later, or maybe I'll jump off a little later, let me just test the waters, let me see how deep it is, let me see how cold the water is, then what happens is you never actually take that plunge. And you fail both as an entrepreneur as well as in what you were doing successfully before. So close the door and jump into it.
Great. Sanjay sir, you are a committed restaurateur, Khanna? Am I right?
Absolutely.
What do you think? Any advice from you to the alumni listening in? Is this the right time to launch restaurants, fast food, or maybe just get into hospital catering? Any practical advice, sir? Seriously.
See, business is the stock market is a reflection of a business scenario. Hello.
Right.
So when you
Yes.
So when you invest in stock market, is it a right time or a wrong time? No, because it's a cycle. So like Manu said, this is the great opportune time because your costings are pretty conducive for your business. Even with of course your costs are pretty rationalized. They're at all-time low. The business may not be pretty good, but then this cycle will come back. So you are entering at the lowest part of the stock market. So I personally feel that this is a great time to get into the business. Number two,
Okay.
I'll reinforce what Rajat said, that people who are at the people who work part-time, they get only part-time results. If you work half, you get half results. And second part, if you always work on, okay, this is my plan A, and then I also have a plan B, the moment you have a plan B, your plan A will never be successful. So you have to have only one plan. So I personally feel this is
Never
the
have
right
plan
time.
B.
You should not have any plan B. If you are getting into becoming an entrepreneur, either it is yes or it is no. There is no
Great.
maybe, should I, no. It has to be, yes, I'm taking a plunge and I'm going ahead. And coming back to your question, that this is absolutely a brilliant time to get into the business. There is never a bad time to get into the business. Like there is never a bad time to get into the stock market. Business has its own nuances. Like Manu said, this is a time when your costs are pretty uh, conducive. Your opportunities are galore. The landlords are ready to talk to you and give you places at a very softer terms and condition. The availability of talent is there. Availability of resources is there. So I think you can't get everything. So I personally feel this is a great time to get into the business, or any business for that matter.
Great. I think that is well put, and I can add my 2 bits to it as well. I'm actually helping somebody relaunch. We've already relaunched their resort. It's a 16-room property, and I started the project 3 months ago in the middle of lockdown, when the gentleman, the owner, called me up to ask me a simple question, saying, I want to add rooms. Do you think this is the right time? I just asked him, I said, do you have the cash flow? Because your existing business will not release it. He said, I have the cash flow. I said, then we should add rooms because it will take 1.5 years and you will be at the top of the boom cycle in hospitality by then. So just adding to what you all guys are saying, that this is a good time to get into business. This is a good time to become an entrepreneur, which is fantastic. The whole panel of successful entrepreneurs is talking about it. Yes, there is adversity, but there is an opportunity here. And there is, you guys have heard a go ahead on F&B. You guys have go ahead on other projects. The basic spirit is, A, do not have any plan Bs. Do it. If you want to do it, there is only plan A, or there is nothing. You know, there is a famous saying from the seer of the Star Trek movies, Yoda: do or do not, there is no try. Simple. Do or do not, there is no try. So it's been great having all of you here, talking to all of you. I wish, and I am requesting on behalf of the audience, if they reach out to you, if they like to reach out to you, please do help out people. We will avoid telephone numbers, obviously, because that's like becomes an invasion of privacy. But I think I will request Kunal that if people send in specific queries, having a stellar team like you, and if you mentor a few people, you know, especially the youngsters, it'll work wonders for them. And yes, it's time is always a constraint in all our lives. But I would personally request that all of you, if you receive, you know, requests from the alumni, PUSA, we all adopt 1 or 2 chota entrepreneurs as a mentor here. You guys good to do that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
In fact, in our growth journey, have had a lot of help from our PUSA seniors. So, Rajat, one of the initial phases, I didn't have a laptop. And I called up Neeraj Malhotra. He was running a call center. I said, sir, I need a laptop. मेरे को तो presentation करना है. He says, तो मेरे पास आजा. मेरे पास एक spare laptop पड़ा मैं तेरे को दे देता हूँ. I went. I had never done food and beverage for cinemas. Ashish Shukla, who's my batchmate, was heading PVR at that time. He got us in.
Yes.
PUSA rights have helped us also grow.
Same as the case
That
with me.
help has to go back. Our seniors have helped us.
Ajay ji, a brilliant thought of connecting us with entrepreneurs who want to get on board, if they need any advice, any hand-holding, anything at all. And I think all of us on this panel will be delighted to assist, because
Absolutely. Anytime.
I would just quickly like to put in here, I met Sanjay ji way back in 93 or so. And the day he realized I was from PUSA, till date, none of his kitchens have been made by anybody else except me. So no, this is where, you know, the alumni thing, and same goes down the line, you know, when I have somebody from
all my friends, Anybody who comes, it has to be chef line.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And so it's the same thing with us. Whenever I meet somebody, from the PUSA fraternity or anything, we're always eager to help. Absolutely.
It'll be a
So
pleasure
Kunal,
to
you have a
involve
huge, sorry Vineet.
into anything that they want, because PUSA has given us all so much, and all of us are willing to give back something to PUSA. And it'll be at least it'll be, I'm pretty sure I can speak on behalf of all panelists. It'll be a pleasure to help any PUSAite who wishes of any kind of help that they need.
Fantastic. That is, I think, the best part of this whole panel today, which anybody attending it could hope to hear for. So, Kunal, Arindam.
Hi, there's a question.
Hi, back
At
to
the
you.
moment, there is one question which is unfortunately an anonymous one, but it says, "Good afternoon, respected alumni. What are the ways to achieve greatness in a corporate job rather than being an entrepreneur?" This would be a tough one for anybody but anybody who has attended both corporate and being an entrepreneur. So I'm just looking at anybody on the panel who's done both could answer. But before that, there was a question which was asked specifically to Mr. Dargar, which was, how's the hotel industry of Australia versus that of Canada, and which country would he advise for if someone wants to do just after graduation? And Mr. Dargar has responded as Canada for work, Australia for food business. So thank you, Mr. Dargar. But over to this question on both working and entrepreneur, which one? So Mr. Chadha, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I think the question is, if I've understood correctly, is that how can I do better in the corporate job than an entrepreneur? Am I right?
Yes.
Is that the question?
That's right.
Okay. So my advice to the friend of ours who's asked this question is that when you're working in a corporate job, work like an entrepreneur. Your boss is going to love you. Your shareholders are going to love you. They will worship you if you work like an entrepreneur. These days, all the corporate companies, they are trying to instill this quality in all their leaders, is think like an entrepreneur. Even the hotels, in the hotel companies have a new term, the revenue per square feet, because they all are grooming their key people to think like an entrepreneur. So brilliant. I mean, if you are in the corporate job and you think like an entrepreneur, you plan like an entrepreneur, you work like an entrepreneur, your management, your bosses are going to love you.
I am impressed, Sanjay, that the hotels have started thinking in revenue per square foot. PE funds who have invested in India were thinking about this 10 years ago. I have answered questions for 4 years to Navis on revenue per square foot. This is great news, actually, honestly speaking,
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good.
There is one
Very
more
nice.
question from Mr. Amit Kumar. And the question is there any opportunity that you look back at and realize you missed it and you wish you had grabbed it at that time? And why did you leave it? And what do you think if you thought differently had you taken it? Wow, that's a profound question. This is like a philosophical
It's like
one.
right.
Maybe I can ask Rajat to respond to that and probably go to a couple of more people.
So, Arindam,
Rajat seems to have captured everything that has come his way.
maybe I'm not the right person to answer that question, because if there's ever been an opportunity which has come my way, I've never missed it. I've grabbed it with both hands and I've jumped and plunged straight into it. However varied it might have been, or however inconsequential in my journey, in the entire journey it might have been, I've done the craziest of things. I've gone to Africa, West Africa, bought scrap from there, cut up ships and brought them to Mandi Gobindgarh and melted them for smelter over here. I've done everything possible which has come my way. China, I've been to the most vaguest of places in Mauritania and bought up an old radio station which was being sold by the French government because they were feeling guilty about ruling West Africa for a long time. So maybe I'm the wrong guy to answer this question, but I only assure you that I don't think anybody here on this panel would have missed any opportunity, because an entrepreneurial spirit is like an animal spirit. And like somebody said, go and hunt. Manu said you have to go and hunt for business and you have to hunt for opportunity. I think all of us here have hunted for opportunity, and all of us here have continued to, be faced with challenges, and then we hunt for solutions. And that's what we do on a daily basis. We get up and start hunting for various ideas to take forward.
Thank you.
And Vineet, say something.
Thanks.
And Vineet, over to you.
Vineet, you wanted to say something?
Yes. Rajat said very rightly, we don't miss opportunities, because otherwise we wouldn't be where we are. You are not an entrepreneur if you start missing opportunities. But from my own personal experiences, we are always looking out for opportunities, grabbing them with both hands. But what I'd like to advise to this person who put the question is, if you miss them, take it for granted it wasn't coming your way. It only passed you by. So I'll just go further from Rajat. Every time you see an opportunity, if you grab it, fine. When you grab an opportunity, it's according to a plan. So you keep planning. If one plan fails, it doesn't mean you stop planning. You keep planning. Many plans will fail, but as he said earlier, it's the 101st that becomes successful. In my trade, I design new products. I design on an average 100 items a year. And only on an average, 2 succeed massively. Now, it could be the first 2 or the last 2. I've got to do at least 100 to make it successful.
So if I
So don't stop looking for opportunities and grabbing at them. You might be able to grab it or miss it. Doesn't matter. Go for the next one.
Thank you very much. I'll go to the next question. This is a question from Sanket Tiwari. He's asking, what's the biggest takeaway for your career from PUSA you can recall every time you look back at PUSA? So maybe Manu, you can take this one, and then we could go to Ajay.
My biggest take when I passed out, so it was a very interesting situation I was actually faced with. So a lot of people I met in a forum which was not an industry forum, and they were IITians. So they were gloating about IIT, and they were talking about IIT and how good they are and the studies they do and how they're trained to be startups, and they do all of that. They answer all those bells and whistles and those questions. My answer was that PUSA taught me how to manage a gentleman who's richer than me, has more brains, so he's sitting on a pile of money, who's staying with me, who's eating in my restaurants, and I know how to handle him better than him himself. That is what PUSA teaches you. That is what my seniors taught me. That you go to that hotel at minimum wage, you handle a guest who's top notch, who's a billionaire already, and you get away with it. Tell me, show me an IITian doing that. I have not seen an IITian or an IIM graduate do that ever.
Jack of all trades, master of none. I will leave it at jack of all trades and master of all of some. Over to Ajay. How would you respond to that question?
Absolutely.
What's PUSA given you? What do you think when you look back at PUSA?
Arindam, PUSA has given us all the ability to think deeper. And I'm not trying to sound very profound, but if you actually look back at it, which program? I actually gave up a degree in engineering admission. I got into DCE, I got into BITS Pilani, and I did not go there. I came to PUSA. Which other program makes you, I can see Vineet laughing his head off on that, but that's very true, sir. I'm saying which other program makes you give 17 subjects as an exam every semester, thrice a year, and subjects as varied as English literature by Shakespeare, as varied as typing in our times, computers now, cookery practicals, and hotel law, principles of management. It takes you all over life. And you do not have a right to say that why am I being questioned in my third year on something which I was taught in the first year, which today's capsule courses are so fond of. First semester clear, ab nahi aayega ye. Even in engineering, what you are taught in the first semester, in the first year, is never asked again. In PUSA, you are open to that. So you really learn to.
Right. I think there's a bit of
course,
a
what
challenge.
somebody has been saying.
Right. Thank you, Ajay. This is a important question. I'll ask Sanjay to respond. This is probably a very, very important question, probably the most important question on everybody's mind. And Sanjay, if you could start, and then I'll go to some other people. In the current scenario, the chances of getting a job is minimal. And without having an experience in the industry, how does a person pursue his entrepreneurial dream? Given the current situation, where should he start from? And I will just add to that is, there's always a challenge of funds. And where do I start from without industry experience in this current condition? And where do I organize the funds from? So maybe Sanjay, you could start, and then I could go to some other panelists.
Okay, I would just add to what Ajay said, what PUSA gave us. PUSA gave us a great ability of people skills, which any business entrepreneur will never survive or succeed without people skills, because you are doing business with people at all levels. So I just wanted to add to that Ajay's thing. But your question that in this scenario, how does one start being an entrepreneur? As we mentioned before, and everybody's talked about it, that it's an opportunity time. The problem is that when you start with a business idea, you always want to think big, which is very, very capital intensive. There are enough business ideas which are not capital intensive, which are more service oriented. So if anybody who wishes to be an entrepreneur, there are enough ideas which are mainly service oriented, not a capex oriented. So that's where one should keep on, because every business idea should be a solution to a problem. So does our industry or business scenario is devoid of any problem? No. There are enough problems, and there has to be solutions for that. So I'm sure a lot of ideas are there.
Can I also add to that, Damsar? So
sure.
Let me just say one thing. You need intent to do business, not money. So very recently, because of this lockdown, there's a dear friend of mine. His name is Dipesh. He's an engineer from US, MBA from US, came back to India, headed Ford in a very large vertical, and he was without a job. But he bakes brilliant bread. So we made this online thing for him, created the graphics. We called it the Enthu Bakers, and he started doing these culinary shows, cookery shows on sourdough bread. In 2 months, he started doing about 2 lakhs a month just on. So he would charge a small fee of 7,000 to 8,000 rupees, and he would start generating about 2 lakhs worth of interest every month. Then one of our PUSA batchmates only, Rajat and Shalu, Rajat sir, you know them, who have a base kitchen, got interested in it and invested in his idea. And now Enthu Bakers has become a subscription model, which is doing more than 200 subscriptions a day. So
fantastic.
Didn't need capital. You need intent.
Thank you, Manu. And I'll just pass over the same question to Rajesh before I take some other questions.
I would like to add that, while we talk about these tough times, this is actually a very good time to plan and to, execute your plan in a phased-wise manner, because, when you are actually, let's say this is not pandemic time and you are in the regular time. So you always have a tight line of, execution. You say, okay, this is the time, I need to take off and, plan my funds and execute the project. Now, by whatever, pandemic or other forces, you have got a cool of time where you can actually plan in the right way, take baby steps, and execute it. So it's a very good time to go ahead with the planning.
Thank you. This one is a question from I'm presuming an entrepreneur himself, and we have a policy that we don't get PIHMAA executive members on these panels. Otherwise, he probably would have been on. But I think I sense he's testing the knowledge of the panelist in a way. But a dear friend, this is a question from Gurpreet Vora, and his question is, what is the most important aspect for an entrepreneur? And here are some of the options is given. Is it time? Is it money? Is it top line? Is it EBITDA? Or is it ethical business practices considering today's ground reality? So time, money, top line, EBITDA, ethical business practices. I'm going to leave it open for, Vineet has raised his hand. Go ahead, Vineet.
Very pertinent question. But all these aspects, and this question has to be built on the foundation of an aspect. What is an entrepreneur? Entrepreneur is a capitalist. And unless the capitalism that you believe in is founded on compassionate capitalism, believe me, none of this will matter. No matter how much money you have, you are not going to succeed. Every successful entrepreneur, whether they admit it or not, look inside their hearts. They are all deeply compassionate people, which means you share your wealth with everybody who helps you generate it. Prime example of the Ambani corporations. I don't have to say more than that.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Rajat, I know you do a lot of social side, but I always feel that if you don't get the EBITDA, where the hell will you give money to the society in the first place? So I think that's where the dichotomy is. Rajat, over to you.
Sudham, I'll first start by answering the last question about if I don't have enough money, how do I become an entrepreneur? Because it's a very pertinent question. And then I'll go on to Gurpreet's question. When I started off, I'll start with my own example. I started off by selling tea under a tree. That was my first business venture. It did not need too much money. I put a folding table in my dad's second-hand Fiat car, drove to ITO, unfolded that table, had a folding gas machine on which I used to make the chai, and the Nepali boy used to work with me, Shankar, used to serve it. That was my capital expenditure, and I used to sell a lot of teas every day. When I came back home, I used to sit with Sanjana, and we collected the 1 rupee coins which I sold tea for every day and made them into bundles of 97 rupees and put sellotape on them, because that 97 coins could be sold for 100 rupees the next day for people who wanted change. And this was change collectors who came from various markets to ITO to buy that change. So we made a 3% profit on just wrapping the coins. Business or entrepreneurship is creating value in everything you do, and you don't need money, you need intent. Manu's been saying it, Vineetji's been saying it, Ajayji's been saying it, Sanjayji's been saying it, and Rajesh is saying it. And they've said it again and again. There has to be intention to succeed, and that's the only thing which will make you move forward. Now coming to Gurpreet's question. I think ethics, according to me, is the most important, because an ethically founded good business is bound to succeed. I started many years ago by selling 1 rupee coin chais. Today, I run a company in which, even though we're running through COVID, I promise you we'll cross 1,000 crore turnover this year, even though we lose a quarter. But that's the intent, and that intent is based completely on ethics and morality and the value addition which you do for your people. Because if you don't share your values with your teams and you don't lead them like a leader with integrity, they're going to copy you. And if you don't have ethics in the top line, it percolates down to your bottom line. So honesty, integrity is what any business stands for. And is built on. Dam, I think you're muted.
Thank you. I'll just take Rajesh on this one last and then go into some other questions. Questions are keep on flowing, so we'll flow with the flow. I think there is a decent level of interest in the expertise that you guys bring to the table. So Rajesh, what's your take? Is it time, money, top line, EBITDA, or ethical business?
I think that what Rajat just mentioned, being honest, whatever thing it is, whether it is time, money, effort, EBITDA, whatever you call, you have to be honest first with yourself, and then percolate it down your organization and your skills. So that is where it's going to win. This is what I have experienced over last 30 years of my existence. Rest, everything will go up and down. There is a mix of everything. It may change over the period, over the opportunities, or over the situation like a pandemic right here. But yes, being honest to yourself and to your work, I think, is the most important.
I think I'll quickly add to that, Arindam. If you look around, unethical businesses are the ones which have regularly shut shop faster. Whether it's a Kingfisher, and I don't want to go beyond that, whether it's a lot of restaurants or hotels, and they're going to find it most difficult to come back, the unethically run businesses.
Yeah, and I just opened Gurpreet, so you can speak, Gurpreet. I've just, anything you want to speak, Gurpreet?
Gurpreet is muted.
Maybe we can't hear Gurpreet.
Maybe I can add something quickly, Arindam.
Yeah.
So, see, ethics is, of course, very important. And what we have learned is that ethical businesses create wealth. Unethical might do short-term profits. And business is about eventually creating wealth and not just earning quick profits. So we as a consulting house have a policy of no commissions or cuts anywhere in the world. We also have a policy, much to my vice president's getting very unhappy about it. We don't charge for placements. Although we could make a ton of money, we are not a placement agency. We are a consulting and a design agency which makes successful business models. So if we start charging for placements, we will compromise on the kind of person we are hiring just to earn money from that. And that becomes a great contributor to the industry, but at the same time, it helps us in our projects. And then we are creating brand ambassadors all the time because of our ethics who are getting us business back. So we have been creating wealth.
Thank you. Over to the next question, and this is probably a question that you can just answer in a yes or no, and we can post your email IDs so that people can contact. This is an anonymous attendee saying, are there any vacancies available for freshers in your companies? I'm presuming they are.
Yes.
So, we'll go around the table quickly and answer that question, and maybe you can just give your email IDs.
Yes, from my.
So Sanjay Chadha says yes. We'll post the email IDs maybe of all of you on the website. Rajat Verma.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So Rajat and I was having a chat. He has obviously the hotel business, but he has a very large separate business which employs, I would say, a different skill set. So you guys need to be careful about wanting to be in that business. I think the initial years are tough, but overall there is a lot of potential to make some money and convert to capitalism and businessman yourself. However, I will apply for a job in Europe in Rajat's hotel very soon. Rajesh, I'm presuming you have some options. So Rajesh and Vineet run businesses which are separate from hotels. So I'm not sure if they are relevant to IHM students, but I'll leave it to both of you to respond.
Yeah, yes, from our side, because we have recently gone into healthcare products during the pandemic time. It's a new product range, so we are looking for people to market them and get it out in the market. So anybody looking at it, so you can just give my email ID. Yeah.
Yes, from me also, Bansar. And so what we have done is that under one roof we started an initiative post lockdown where we are collecting CVs of people who are wanting to work. Because of the lockdown and because of this pandemic, they wanted to work in locations where they are. So what we started doing, we started creating this initiative where we have done data banking of CVs, and we are trying to place people in the areas they want to get placed and in the regions they want to get placed. instead of trying to place somebody from Kerala to Delhi or Cuttack to Bombay, we're trying to say, okay, let me find you something here. And since we are in almost 50 cities in India, and almost all our projects retrenched and are rehiring, so we are absolutely
Thank
open.
you very much. In fact, Ajay and some of the other batch ambassadors were trying to initiate a project from PIHMAA, which was to place students who have been displaced or who hadn't got jobs. So maybe Ajay and Manu can connect post this call to see if we can do something on a larger scale. I've also got a message from the principal to say, can the alumni get together to create some sort of a job driving mechanism? Now, recently we have launched an alumni website, or which actually allows us to post the jobs, and I think this is an area that we could probably look at to drive more job opportunities from PUSA alumni who themselves employ so many. So that's a good learning for us in PIHMAA Executive Committee, to see if we can drive that opportunity there. There is one last question probably we will take, which is, it says, sometimes it gets very demotivating and depressing because it's not a very high paying industry in the starting. How should one overcome that? Wow, Rajat Verma and we started in the same company at 1450 rupees in 1991. I don't know if anybody beat us to that in this panel.
Almost the same.
150 rupees.
First job I had was 650 rupees in Agra.
But time relative. I mean, Sanjay and Vineet will probably beat us on the batch, but time relative, probably 1450 was.
Here I've got to say something. I worked in Mumbai, Taj, as a summer trainee. I worked in the butchery, in the kitchens, to learn what I really wanted to learn from my heart. To support myself, I was doing 2 other part-time jobs in restaurants in nearby area. So in the beginning, believe me, you have to go through the grind. You are the meat in the meat grinder. You don't do that, you don't get a good means to make the best burger in town.
That's a true step speaking.
You have to go through the grind. There is no other option unless you can inherit a large amount of money and go on with that. And God bless if that happens to you. But I'm pretty sure none of that happened to any of the panelists here. They all went to the grind and they built their own foundations and the buildings on top of it.
Right. This one next question and the last one, I promise, because this question just keep on coming. To Sanjay and to Manu. Sanjay first. Sir, during the starting phase of business, one should focus on getting cheaper employees to reduce expense, or recruit well-trained, more expensive employees?
When you're starting the business, you are the first employee. So you are the cheapest and have to be the most talented employee in your business. But having said that, you have to have a combination of both. You can't have all trained people and run the business. You will have some trained people and some untrained people, and then you will focus a lot on training when you're starting the business. Because otherwise you will not have the correct blend, and every business, every entrepreneur has to be very, very cost efficient to start the business. So this is my take. Whenever you'll start the business, you will have a correct blend. You'll have few trained people and a little more untrained people, and then you will focus on the training ASAP so that your costing is balanced. Over to Manu. What he has to say.
So very simple. When you're starting a business, make a business plan. You pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Hire good people, fewer people. So most businesses require one general, not two. So you need more soldiers. That's where the lesser skill set comes in. A lot of businesses hire too many generals. Don't do that. Spend a lot of time on training. Training actually makes you money. So it points your business in the right direction and makes you the correct amount of money. So to spend a lot of money and a lot of money on training. Training is a non-stop process in our industry, and there is never a right or a wrong time for it. You're a continuously evolving situation when you're growing a business. So different training
Right.
them all the time. And we tell the hotels that HR, for example, human resource development is the department, not human resource to take attendance. So what has the human resource done as a profit center in any large organization or small organization? Whether it's an individual who's running his own business and is the captain of his own business, how much time have you bothered to train? So of course we'll always say hire good people, pay them good money, retain them, but at the same time stick to your business plan. Look at your business, see what are your needs, see which are the uncompromisable positions, hire correctly there. That is where you get hurt otherwise.
Thank you, Manu.
There are the areas you need soldiers.
Thank you. Deeply appreciate. Do you guys have some time for some more questions, panelists?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. This one is an interesting one, so I didn't want to drop this. Ajay Khanna first, and then maybe we could go to Rajat. Good afternoon, sir. Can you kindly shed light on the aspect of how much of an impact the responsibility an entrepreneur has for the people working under them, and its impact on the decision making and acceptable levels of risk? So the question is to say, you are responsible for the people who are working under you. How much, freedom do you give? What's the kind of risk that if they take a wrong decision? And I think the question is around that. So Ajay, and then
Yeah.
over to Rajat.
Absolutely. I will. I mean, it's a very simple answer. If you hire somebody, you are responsible for them. Otherwise, please don't hire them. Learn to have that mindset, or don't hire them. Then learn to do it yourself. It is just so simple. And if you can't do that, then we come back to what we have been talking about. You're being unethical. You're leading somebody up a garden path. So you are totally responsible. That's it. And if you are working in an organization which doesn't believe in it, please get out fast. If you are running an organization which doesn't believe in it, please change yourself. That's it.
No, I'd like to echo what Ajay is saying, and then you're absolutely 100% responsible for everybody who's on your team. My only other point which I'd like to make is that you have to empower people. And when you empower people, you have to empower them completely, because only then they will perform. So you can't be responsible and not give them the ability to, be responsible themselves. So you have to empower decisions.
Right. So we have come close to the ending. What we will do now is request each one of you to just have 2 or 3 sentences of closing remarks, and then we will end. So maybe we could start with Ajay as the moderator for closing remarks, and then we go around the table, starting with Mr. Vineet Dargar.
Thank you so much. Very one simple sentence. I already used it while I was talking earlier, especially in context of entrepreneurship. Do or do not. There is no try. That's it, guys.
I echo that. And just to add in simple words for all the new people wanting to be in entrepreneurship, you want loyalty, give loyalty.
Thank you.
I want to, my take is, when you're getting into business, be convinced about your business idea. Do not go with the intention of only to make money. Normally we make that mistake. We want to do business to make money. Money is a byproduct of your action. So be convinced about your business idea, research it out, and then, as Ajay said, take 100% plunge.
Right. Rajesh?
I would say, entrepreneurship is a long journey, which is going to be full of learning and exciting. And one should trust his own intuition, while you are into it, which will get converted into opportunity and whatever you may call it, luck. But the courage to trust your intuition is very important. I would end up there. Yeah.
Right. Rajat?
So I would like to use the line which my father taught me, and he always said all his life before he passed away. He just used to say, "Aandhi ho ya tufan, badhta chal." And that's the line I'd like to use for all the entrepreneurs. Aandhi ho ya tufan, badhta chal.
How profound. JB, I remember. Manu?
Wow, wow. I'm already overwhelmed. इतने सारे seniors, इतना सारा ज्ञान. But one very small thing which we always say in business, there are no rules. There are no rules. Rules is something you adapt. Shoot from the hip. There is always good decisions. There are no bad decisions. You learn from them, you move on. Don't stop as entrepreneurs. Just keep on moving on. That's what I would say.
Thank you. I would like to just take the opportunity on behalf of the PIHMAA Executive Committee to thank all of you for participating in this enlightening talk. It promised to be a stellar event, and it has been. My sincere thanks to the people who have attended, and a bigger apology and thanks to the people who were wanting to or attempting to get into it and we could not. We just realized that these talks are becoming bigger and bigger, and we need to apply for a larger license than the one that we have. We're limiting at 100. So to all the people who can hear, the panelists and the people, please convey our apologies to the people who could not hear, but obviously we will put this on the social media channels shortly. Once again, a very big thank you to the principal, faculty and current students of IHM PUSA. I'm being supported by an exceptional team of members on the executive committee who continues to support all these initiatives. And allow me to do a little bit of advertising for PIHMAA. For all those people who are listening who are PIHMAA members or non-members, please contribute to our crowdfunding initiative. There are people on this panel, and you know, we've not named people unless they wanted to, but you guys know who you are, and I cannot thank you enough for all the people who have done whatever they could in their own way to contribute. And people who haven't and who are listening to us, who are going to listen to us on the social media broadcast, please contribute to our crowdfunding initiative. I think we are almost there with the first one, and we have a few exciting projects going forward. But Mr. Chadha, Mr. Dargar, Mr. Khanna, Mr. I can't call him Mr. Mohindra, Manu, Rajesh and Rajat, thank you so much. Deeply appreciate, and God bless IHM PUSA, God bless PIHMAA, and God bless our country.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
Thank you.
A pleasure.